Hi. So one more eventful and action-packed day is over at Oval. Yes, the third day is over, and what a fantastic day it has been, especially for India, who would be relishing the day because they have actually grabbed the initiative and grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck, and now they look in a commanding position to win this test match. Most probably tomorrow, which may turn out to be the last day of this test match and the series, because either way, if India predictably wins it from the position where they are supposed to win it, then they should be able to dismiss England in a day, because England is not going to bat out for 90 overs tomorrow and fall short of the target of 374 because they have already scored 50 runs. So if they bat for the entire day, they should be able to chase down 324 more runs easily. On the other hand, if England manages to punch above their waist and show great resilience and tenacity and exemplary ability to chase down once again and win this test match and chase down 324 more runs to win by against India on a pitch which is still seeming around a bit, which has still some uneven bounce, which is still rising up, the deliveries are rising up from some unexpected places, then they can still do it tomorrow, and then India would not need, or they would not need a fifth day to do this. So either way, whichever team wins, it would be most likely tomorrow the match would be decided, and it would be a really gripping and exciting and hopefully thrilling day tomorrow, unless one side completely surrenders and meekly just gives up, and then the game gets over by the much before the end of the day. Then it would be an anticlimax. But one, for the sake of test cricket and for the sake of excitement, hopes that it should go down the wire at least and go down till the last session tomorrow, and should turn out to be an exciting and enthralling finish. Now the day started with India in some sort of trouble because they were not out of the woods. They were 75 for 2, that means just 52 runs ahead, and England knew that the conditions would help the seam bowlers in the morning, and if they would be able to bowl with a little more accuracy and control and discipline and manage to take a couple of 2 wickets in the first hour, they could hope to dismiss India even around for 200 or 220, the same way as they had been dismissed in the first innings, and that would actually put England in a commanding position to win this test. But nothing of that sort happened. Akashdeep was the hero as a night watchman, even though Jaiswal was the player to watch out for. He was playing a fantastic knock for India and was single-handedly responsible for bringing India to a driver's seat. But then the first session belonged to Akashdeep. Because he was a night watchman, it was expected that he would get out soon, and Subman Gill would be exposed to the fresh and fit three-seam bowling attack of England early in the morning, with the seaming conditions favouring the bowlers and the overcast condition making life miserable for the batters. But then Akashdeep managed to hang out for almost the entire first session, and not only he just managed to hang out, he scored runs at will, put the pressure back on England and made them demoralized, because England was prepared to expect a fight from Jaiswal or runs from Jaiswal, but not from Akashdeep, who has been known to be an absolute mug with the bat, and he has not been contributing anything with the bat in the test he had played as a tail-ender. But today he came out as an inspired batter and he scored 66 runs. That was the second highest. He was the second highest run getter after Jaiswal today, and he scored at a brisk pace, and he demoralized the English bowlers and he made them tired because they were only playing with 3 seamers and no spinner, and as Vokes was ruled out of the match, so there were only 3 seamers to rotate, and it was impossible to keep them fresh throughout the morning session, considering that you could not have changes in both the ends. So one bowler had to be given an extended run, and when Akashdeep managed to score briskly, that not only physically tired out the bowlers, English bowlers, they mentally also deflated them, and that allowed Jaiswal to play freely and punish the English bowlers and use the conditions or try to cash in on the demoralized state of the English bowlers to really put India in a commanding position. And ultimately Akashdeep got dismissed for 66 just before the end of first session, but India by then had added 114 runs in 26 overs with a healthy run rate of 4.5 runs per over, and they had only lost 1 wicket. So India was actually having a clear edge on the over England for the first time in this test match. And in the second session, England came back and took 3 wickets, but it was one more punishing session for England because India went on a scoring spree. They scored again 115 runs in a slightly extended session, and they lost 3 wickets. So by that time they had actually had a very healthy lead, and now England were chasing the leather. They were no longer being fresh, and the absence of Wokes was being felt terribly, and the three bowlers were really struggling to manage to have a formula to counter Jaiswal, who was cutting them fantastically and magnificently and scoring runs at will. And English bowlers lost their discipline just like they had lost it in the first day, and they were not knowing where to pitch. They were bowling wides, they were giving a lot of byes. They were spraying the balls either too much outside the off stump or leg stump. They had no control. They were not able to put proper seam movement to trouble the batters. Especially Jaiswal was very harsh on them, and when they kept on giving runs, that completely took the pressure off Indian batting. And so 114 and 115 runs in the first two sessions put India in a fantastic position, and they still had a lot of wickets because India, as we know, was to bat deep, and so they were coming into the third session against a tired English attack with more batters in the shade. So it was a really tough position for England, and ultimately the death knell came when even at 357 for 9, England felt that they had only around 333 to 334 to chase, which was still lesser than 350, so that would give them some psychological advantage. But then for the 10th wicket, so Washington Sundar, in the company of Prasidh Krishna, played a really rampaging knock. He started going on a 6 hitting spree, hit 4 sixes against the English bowlers, and added 39 runs for the 10th wicket, with Prasidh Krishna not doing much or not having the need to do much because Washington Sundar no longer depended like on the formula of just trying to play defensively and take a single and try to extend the innings. He went on a scoring spree because he didn't trust Prasidh Krishna. He didn't want to try out taking a single of the fourth ball or fifth ball. Whatever balls he got in the beginning of the over, he went on a rampage. He added 39 runs, and that put India at 396 all out when finally he got out. And that meant India had a lead of 373 runs, which was massive on a pitch which had so much grass and with overcast condition, and which was so challenging for the batters against the seam bowlers. So whatever little hope England had became much more difficult for them after India managed to make it the target 374. And when England came into bat, they knew that they had already given the initiative to India with their wayward bowling and some shoddy fielding, where they dropped 6 catches, which is unheard of. So it is almost like they were returning the favor that India had given them in the first test by dropping 7 catches and losing a test which they should not have lost. So this time England wanted to give the entire initiative back to India with their shoddy fielding, where they dropped nearly 6 catches and a couple of runouts, and the catches they dropped of Jaiswal and Akashdeep were really crucial, and they really cost England too badly, because the catches they dropped of Karun Nair or Sai Sudarshan didn't cost them much, because ultimately those two players got out cheaply. But then Jaiswal was dropped at 20 and at 40, and then he went on to score 116, and same with Akashdeep. He was dropped early and he went on to score 66 runs, and that actually changed the momentum of the game, complexion of the game, and India managed to score at least 100 more runs than that what ideally they should have scored in the second innings. And that really has become most probably the deciding factor in this test, because chasing 274 is much more comfortable in the fourth innings of a pitch which is showing signs of slight improvement, and the ball is not moving around as much as it was moving around in the first 2 days. But trying to chase down 374 on that pitch can be very tough, especially when you have already 1 wicket down, because Wokes is not going to bat because of his injury. And when England came into bat, they thought that they had almost reduced the odds in favor of India by playing out the entire remaining session of the final session, and they were 50 for no loss when there were just 2 balls left. And if they had come down, they had gone to the pavilion with 50 without loss after 4th day, that would have reduced the odds in favor of India to some extent, and that would have given them a lot of confidence to start believing that they could do a Headingley once again and score 374 and win this test match by batting in the morning tomorrow in the same approach that they had done in Headingley, with Dockett and Crawley trying to negate the seaming condition and trying to blunt the Indian seam attack, and by that time and in the second session they could really go on an attacking mode and use that template of balanced baseball approach they had in Headingley to win this test match. That must have been their strategy, and they had almost succeeded because they had scored 50 in 13.4 overs without being separated, and it looked one more long partnership was due from them, just like how they scored that day 166 runs, and even in the first innings here at Oval, a brilliant partnership of 92. It looked they were heading towards that, and that would really put pressure on India on the fourth day. But then on the very last day, ball of the day, Siraj produced an absolute beauty. He completely fooled Crawley into believing that he was going to bowl a short pitch ball, but then he bowled a fantastic Yorker which didn't give chance for Crawley to bring his bat down on time, and he was castled and he was bowled and he was completely clueless and looked a real fool of himself, made a fool of himself by getting dismissed, and that would have actually given so much fillip and so much confidence and so much self-belief to Siraj and the rest of the bowlers and Indian team, seeing that the vital wicket of Crawley was dismissed in the last ball of the day. Now they will firmly believe that everything is going their way, and tomorrow they can put pressure on the new batter Pope, and they now know that Dockett and Pope can't bat the way like how Dockett and Crawley would have done in that in the first innings how they had done. So they would like to take some time to consolidate, and that would give enough time and enough chances for the Indian bowlers to settle down, knowing where to exactly bowl, and once they settle down on pitching the ball at the right area, that ball can do a lot of trickery, at least in the first session, if the conditions are overcast tomorrow, just like how it has been in the first 3 days. And if that happens, then there would be a ball which would have the name of either of the two batsmen, and that would mean that if India can manage to take a couple more wickets in the first session or first hour, the game would be firmly in India's grasp, and then it would be almost impossible for England to miraculously win this test. So then it would be a really India's game in the grasp, and India can win this and draw level the series, and it would be a fabulous achievement by an inexperienced but young and talented team which is under transition and also under the leadership of a new captain who has made his debut only. So it would be a fabulous achievement to draw level a series against England at their own backyard for a country which didn't have a very creditable or very impressive record of test match or series in the past. So yes, India are firm favorites. They look capable of winning, and if they win it, they will be drawing level 2-2, and it would be a fantastic achievement, and England would be really flabbergasted if that happens, because they had a golden chance in the last test at Manchester to win that test and seal the series in their favor, and now they have come down to the fifth test, preparing a seaming pitch or preparing a green top, and hoping that like every other past tour, India would be struggling, because Indian batters are not known traditionally to bat well on the seaming pitches, and England seamers are supposed to be better than Indian seamers. But that was their maybe strategy, but that has also backfired. India has shown not only their batters are capable to bat on all kinds of conditions better than the English batters, their bowlers are also, especially the seam bowlers also, have been much better and impressive than the seamers of English team, which is actually a great achievement. So irrespective of whatever the result, Indian seamers have shown how fantastic they are, how better they are than the English seamers, not only on flat pitches in the first 4 tests, but also on this seaming pitch, the typical English pitch. Here Indian seamers have been better than English seamers. So that tells a lot about the Indian test squad and the talent India has, and India deserves to win this because India has been dominant team throughout the series, but unfortunately they are 1-2 down. So the least they are expected to do, or they deserve to have, is to win this test match to draw level the series. And if England manages to somehow win this test match, then they have to show a heroic performance, and if they can show that kind of a performance with either Root or Brook or Dockett showing the kind of innings or playing a kind of innings that Dockett had played in the first test, then they deserve to win, and then they should be getting all the credit for winning the series 3-1. So either way, it would be a deciding test match. It would be a test match which would have an outcome. Most likely it would have an outcome tomorrow, and we can't wait for tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.